Here are some delicious and special Christmas meal recipes that are sure to impress your guests and bring warmth to your holiday table. Our first recipe is a classic breakfast favorite that everyone loves: fluffy buttermilk pancakes topped with a rich blueberry sauce. To make fluffy buttermilk pancakes with a rich blueberry sauce, start by preparing the ingredients. Sift 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of sugar into a large mixing bowl. Sifting not only removes lumps, but also incorporates air into the mixture, ensuring light and airy pancakes. In a separate bowl, beat 2 eggs lightly and add 2 cups of buttermilk. Whisk the mixture thoroughly until smooth. Slowly drizzle in 3 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter while continuing to whisk, ensuring the butter blends evenly into the liquid. Gradually add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients, stirring gently with a spatula or whisk. Avoid over-mixing, as this can lead to dense pancakes. A few lumps in the batter are perfectly fine and will disappear during cooking. Once the batter is mixed, let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes. This step allows the gluten in the flour to relax, resulting in softer pancakes. While the batter rests, prepare the blueberry sauce. In a small saucepan, combine 1½ cups of fresh or frozen blueberries, a 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and half a cup of water. Stir the mixture over medium heat until the blueberries begin to release their juices. Reduce the heat to low and let the sauce simmer for 5 to 7 minutes, stirring occasionally. To thicken the sauce, mix 1 teaspoon of cornstarch with 2 teaspoons of water in a small bowl. Then slowly stir it into the blueberry mixture. Cook for another 2 minutes until the sauce thickens and becomes glossy. Remove it from the heat and set it aside to cool slightly. Heat a large non-stick skillet or griddle over medium heat. Lightly grease the surface with a small amount of butter or oil, spreading it evenly with a paper towel. Test the heat by sprinkling a few drops of water onto the skillet. They should sizzle and evaporate quickly. Using a ladle or measuring cup, pour about 1/3 cup of batter onto the skillet for each pancake. Cook until bubbles form on the surface and the edges appear set, approximately 2 to 3 minutes. Flip the pancake with a spatula and cook for an additional 1 to 2 minutes, or until golden brown on both sides. Adjust the heat as needed to prevent burning. Place the cooked pancakes on a plate and cover them with a clean kitchen towel or foil to keep them warm. Repeat the process until all the batter is used. This recipe yields about 8 to 10 medium-sized pancakes. To serve, stack the pancakes on a plate and generously spoon the warm blueberry sauce over the top. For added indulgence, you can include a dollop of whipped cream, a drizzle of maple syrup, or a sprinkle of powdered sugar. If desired, garnish with a few fresh blueberries or a thin slice of lemon for a vibrant presentation. For a twist, consider adding half a teaspoon of vanilla extract or a pinch of cinnamon to the pancake batter. For a heartier version, mix a handful of chopped nuts or chocolate chips into the batter before cooking. If you don't have buttermilk on hand, you can make a quick substitute by mixing 2 tablespoons of lemon juice or white vinegar with 2 cups of regular milk and letting it sit for 5 minutes. Leftover pancakes can be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. To reheat, place them in a toaster, microwave, or skillet. The blueberry sauce can also be stored in a sealed container in the fridge for up to a week and reheat it gently on the stovetop or in the microwave before serving. Our second recipe is a hearty and comforting dish that's perfect for lunch or dinner. Classic spaghetti bolognese. This Italian-inspired meal combines a rich, meaty sauce with tender pasta, making it a favorite for both family dinners and special occasions. Let's dive into the recipe. To begin, finely chop 1 medium onion, 2 garlic cloves, 1 medium carrot, and 1 celery stalk. These vegetables will form the aromatic base of the sauce, known as a sofrito in Italian cuisine. Heat 2 tablespoons of olive oil in a large saucepan over medium heat. Add the chopped vegetables and sauté for 5 to 7 minutes, stirring occasionally until they soften and the onions become translucent. Be careful not to let them brown, as this could alter the flavor. Next, add 1 pound of ground beef to the pan. Break up the meat with a wooden spoon or spatula and cook until it's browned all over, which should take about 5 to 7 minutes. For a more complex flavor, you can use a mix of ground beef and pork. Once the meat is cooked, season it with a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of black pepper. Stir in 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, which will deepen the flavor of the sauce, and cook for an additional minute. Then, pour in half a cup of red wine to deglaze the pan. Let it simmer for 2 to 3 minutes, scraping up any browned bits from the bottom of the pan. If you prefer not to use wine, you can substitute it with beef or vegetable broth. Add a 14-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, a 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes, and half a teaspoon of dried oregano to the pan. Stir well to combine all the ingredients. Reduce the heat to low and let the sauce simmer gently for 30 to 40 minutes, stirring occasionally. This allows the flavors to meld together and the sauce to thicken. If the sauce becomes too thick, you can add a splash of water or broth to loosen it. While the sauce is simmering, bring a large pot of salted water to a boil. Add 12 ounces of spaghetti and cook according to the package instructions, usually about 8 to 10 minutes, until al dente. Reserve half a cup of pasta water before draining the spaghetti. This starchy water can be used to adjust the consistency of the sauce later. Once the sauce is ready, taste and adjust the seasoning with additional salt and pepper if needed. Toss the drained spaghetti directly into the sauce, adding a splash of the reserved pasta water if necessary to coat the pasta evenly. Stir gently to combine and let the pasta absorb the flavors for a minute or two. To serve, divide the spaghetti bolognese among plates and garnish with freshly grated Parmesan cheese and a sprinkle of chopped fresh parsley or basil. For an extra touch of indulgence, drizzle a little olive oil over the top or serve with garlic bread on the side. This recipe can be easily customized. For a spicier version, add a pinch of red pepper flakes when sautéing the vegetables. For a creamier texture, stir in a splash of heavy cream or a dollop of ricotta cheese before serving. If you're cooking for vegetarians, replace the ground meat with plant-based crumbles or finely chopped mushrooms. Leftovers can be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. Reheat gently on the stovetop or in the microwave, adding a little water or broth to loosen the sauce if needed. This spaghetti bolognese also freezes well, making it a great make-ahead meal for busy days. With its rich, savory sauce and perfectly cooked pasta, this spaghetti bolognese is a dish that brings comfort and satisfaction to every bite. It's a true classic that never fails to impress. Our third recipe is a light yet satisfying dish that's perfect for a healthy lunch or dinner: grilled chicken salad. This recipe combines tender, flavorful chicken with crisp greens and a tangy homemade dressing. Let's get started. Begin by preparing the chicken. Take 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts and place them between 2 sheets of plastic wrap or parchment paper. Use a meat mallet or rolling pin to pound them to an even thickness, about half an inch thick. This ensures even cooking. Season both sides of the chicken with 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. Heat a grill pan or outdoor grill over medium-high heat. Brush it lightly with olive oil to prevent sticking. Once the grill is hot, place the chicken breasts on it. Cook for about 4 to 5 minutes on the first side without moving them, allowing grill marks to develop. Flip the chicken and cook for another 4 to 5 minutes on the other side, or until the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit, 75 degrees Celsius. Remove the chicken from the grill and let it rest for 5 minutes before slicing it into thin strips. While the chicken is resting, prepare the salad. Wash and dry 6 cups of mixed greens, such as romaine lettuce, arugula, and spinach. Place them in a large salad bowl. Slice 1 cup of cherry tomatoes in half, thinly slice a small red onion, and dice 1 avocado. Add these to the bowl along with half a cup of shredded carrots and half a cup of cucumber slices. Next, prepare the dressing. In a small mixing bowl or jar, whisk together 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 1 teaspoon of honey, half a teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Taste the dressing and adjust the seasoning as needed. If you like a creamier dressing, add a tablespoon of Greek yogurt or mayonnaise. Drizzle about half of the dressing over the salad and toss gently to coat the greens and vegetables evenly. Add the sliced chicken on top of the salad, arranging it neatly for a beautiful presentation. Serve the remaining dressing on the side, allowing everyone to add more to taste. For extra flavor and texture, you can add a few toppings to your salad. Popular choices include crumbled feta or goat cheese, toasted nuts such as almonds or pecans, or a handful of dried cranberries. To make it heartier, include a boiled egg or some cooked quinoa. This grilled chicken salad is highly customizable. If you prefer a spicy kick, season the chicken with cayenne pepper or chili powder. For a Mediterranean twist, use oregano and lemon zest in the seasoning, and include Kalamata olives and roasted red peppers in the salad. For a lighter option, skip the avocado and use a vinaigrette instead of a creamy dressing. Leftovers can be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 2 days, but it's best to keep the dressing separate to avoid soggy greens. To reheat the chicken, use a skillet over low heat or a microwave, taking care not to overcook it. With its vibrant colors, fresh ingredients, and satisfying flavors, this grilled chicken salad is a meal that's as healthy as it is delicious. It's perfect for a quick weekday lunch or a light dinner that doesn't compromise on taste. Enjoy. Our 4th recipe is a rich and creamy dish that feels luxurious, yet is simple to make. Shrimp risotto. This Italian classic is a perfect choice for a special dinner or when you want to impress someone with a homemade meal. Let's begin. Start by preparing the shrimp. Peel and devein 1 pound of raw shrimp, leaving the tails on for presentation if desired. Rinse them under cold water and pat them dry with a paper towel. Season the shrimp with half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and a pinch of red pepper flakes for a subtle heat. In a large skillet, heat 2 tablespoons of olive oil over medium heat. Add the shrimp in a single layer and cook for 1 to 2 minutes on each side, or until they turn pink and opaque. Remove the shrimp from the skillet and set them aside on a plate. Cover them lightly to keep them warm. In the same skillet, add another tablespoon of olive oil and 1 finely chopped onion. Sauté the onion for 3 to 4 minutes until it becomes translucent. Add 2 minced garlic cloves and cook for an additional minute, stirring constantly to avoid burning. Add 1½ cups of arborio rice to the skillet. Stir the rice for 2 minutes to lightly toast it. This step enhances the flavor and ensures the rice absorbs the liquid evenly. Pour in ½ a cup of dry white wine and stir continuously until the wine is almost completely absorbed. If you prefer not to use wine, you can substitute it with chicken or vegetable broth. Begin adding 5 cups of warm chicken or seafood broth, 1 ladleful at a time. Stir frequently, allowing each addition to be fully absorbed by the rice before adding more. This process takes about 20 minutes and helps create the creamy texture that risotto is known for. Keep the broth warm in a separate pot to ensure even cooking. Once the rice is tender but still slightly firm to the bite, stir in 1 cup of grated Parmesan cheese and 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Mix well until the cheese and butter melt into the risotto. Add the cooked shrimp back to the skillet along with a tablespoon of freshly chopped parsley or basil. Gently stir to combine, ensuring the shrimp are evenly distributed. Taste the risotto and adjust the seasoning with additional salt and pepper if needed. For an extra layer of flavor, squeeze a little fresh lemon juice over the dish just before serving. Serve the risotto immediately in warm bowls to maintain its creamy consistency. For variations, you can add other seafood like scallops or mussels, or include vegetables such as peas or asparagus for a pop of color and freshness. To make it richer, drizzle a bit of truffle oil over the top before serving. Leftovers can be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 2 days, but risotto is best enjoyed fresh. This shrimp risotto, with its creamy texture and tender shrimp, is a dish that combines elegance and comfort. It's a great choice for elevating your dinner table without requiring hours in the kitchen. Our 5th recipe is a sophisticated dish that requires careful preparation. Classic Beef Wellington. This elegant meal, known for its tender beef wrapped in a flaky puff pastry, is ideal for special occasions or when you want to showcase your culinary skills. Let's dive into the details. Begin by preparing the beef. Use a 2-pound center-cut beef tenderloin, ensuring it is trimmed of excess fat and silver skin. Season the beef generously on all sides with 1 teaspoon of salt and ½ a teaspoon of black pepper. Heat 2 tablespoons of olive oil in a large skillet over medium-high heat. Sear the beef for 1 to 2 minutes on each side, including the ends, until it develops a rich brown crust. This step locks in the juices and adds flavor. Remove the beef from the skillet and set it aside to cool completely. While the beef is cooling, prepare the mushroom duxelles. In a food processor, pulse 8 ounces of button mushrooms, 1 shallot, and 2 garlic cloves until finely chopped. Heat 1 tablespoon of olive oil in the same skillet used for the beef. Add the mushroom mixture and cook over medium heat for 8 to 10 minutes, stirring often until the mixture is dry and golden. Season with ½ a teaspoon of salt, a ¼ teaspoon of black pepper, and a teaspoon of fresh thyme leaves. Remove the duxelles from the skillet and let them cool. Next, prepare the prosciutto layer. lay a large piece of plastic wrap on a clean surface. Arrange 8 to 10 slices of prosciutto on the plastic wrap, overlapping them slightly to form a rectangular sheet. Spread the cooled mushroom duxelles evenly over the prosciutto. Place the cooled beef tenderloin on one end of the prosciutto sheet. Using the plastic wrap, tightly roll the beef in the prosciutto and mushroom layer, ensuring it is completely covered. Twist the ends of the plastic wrap to secure the roll and refrigerate it for at least 30 minutes. While the beef chills, prepare the puff pastry. Lightly flour a clean surface and roll out a sheet of puff pastry to a size large enough to wrap the entire beef. Remove the beef from the refrigerator and unwrap it from the plastic wrap. Place it on the puff pastry and brush the edges of the pastry with beaten egg yolk to help seal it. Carefully roll the beef in the pastry, tucking in the edges and sealing the seams. Trim any excess pastry to avoid overlapping too much, which can lead to uneven cooking. Wrap the entire beef Wellington in plastic wrap and chill it again for 30 minutes. Chilling ensures the pastry stays firm and doesn't tear during baking. Meanwhile, preheat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, 220 degrees Celsius. Before baking, remove the beef Wellington from the refrigerator and unwrap it. Place it seam side down on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Brush the pastry all over with the remaining beaten egg yolk. For an added touch of elegance, use the back of a knife to gently score the surface of the pastry with a decorative pattern. Be careful not to cut all the way through. Sprinkle a pinch of coarse salt over the pastry for flavor and texture. Bake the beef Wellington in the preheated oven for 35 to 40 minutes, or until the pastry is golden brown and the internal temperature of the beef reaches 125 degrees Fahrenheit, 52 degrees Celsius, for medium rare. Use a meat thermometer inserted into the center to check the temperature. Keep in mind that the beef will continue to cook slightly after it is removed from the oven. Let the Wellington rest for at least 10 minutes before slicing to allow the juices to redistribute. To serve, slice the beef Wellington into thick rounds using a sharp knife. Arrange the slices on a platter or individual plates and pair them with a rich red wine sauce or a creamy horseradish sauce. For a complete meal, serve alongside roasted vegetables, mashed potatoes, or a fresh green salad. This dish offers some flexibility for variation. For a more intense flavor, use wild mushrooms like porcini or shiitake in the duxelles. For a decadent touch, spread a thin layer of pâté or Dijon mustard over the beef before wrapping it in prosciutto. If you prefer a vegetarian version, substitute the beef with a large roasted portobello mushroom or a log of goat cheese. Leftovers can be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 2 days. To reheat, place slices in a low-temperature oven to warm through without overcooking the beef or softening the pastry. Classic beef Wellington is a masterpiece that combines tender beef, savory mushroom duxelles, and buttery puff pastry into one luxurious dish. While it requires time and attention to detail, the result is well worth the effort. Our 6th recipe is a luxurious and deeply flavorful dish that is a staple of French cuisine: duck à l'orange. This classic recipe combines tender roasted duck with a tangy orange sauce, creating a balance of rich and citrusy flavors. It requires careful preparation, but the results are spectacular. Let's begin. Start by preparing the duck. Use a whole duck, approximately 5 pounds, and pat it dry with paper towels. Trim excess fat from the cavity, and using a sharp knife, score the skin in a crisscross pattern without cutting into the meat. This helps the fat render out during cooking, resulting in crispy skin. Season the duck generously, inside and out, with 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 200 degrees Celsius. Place the duck on a rack in a roasting pan, breast side up. Roast the duck for 45 minutes. After this time, carefully remove it from the oven and use a spoon or baster to remove excess fat from the roasting pan. Flip the duck breast side down and roast for another 45 minutes. Remove the duck from the oven again, flip it back to breast side up, and roast for a final 30 minutes. The duck is done when the skin is golden and crispy, and the internal temperature reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit, 74 degrees Celsius, in the thickest part of the thigh. Let the duck rest for 15 minutes before carving. While the duck is roasting, prepare the orange sauce. In a medium saucepan, combine 1 cup of freshly squeezed orange juice, half a cup of chicken stock, a quarter cup of white wine vinegar, and a quarter cup of sugar. Heat the mixture over medium heat, stirring occasionally until the sugar dissolves. Bring it to a gentle simmer and cook for 10 to 15 minutes, allowing the liquid to reduce slightly. In a small bowl, mix 1 tablespoon of cornstarch with 2 tablespoons of cold water to create a slurry. Slowly whisk the slurry into the simmering sauce, stirring constantly to avoid lumps. Continue to cook for 2 to 3 minutes until the sauce thickens. Add 1 tablespoon of orange zest, a pinch of salt, and 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter to the sauce. Stir until the butter is melted and the sauce is glossy. Taste and adjust the seasoning as needed. Set the sauce aside and keep it warm. To add an extra layer of flavor, caramelize orange slices for garnish. Slice 1 orange into thin rounds. In a skillet over medium heat, sprinkle 2 tablespoons of sugar evenly and let it melt without stirring. Once the sugar turns a light amber color, carefully add the orange slices and cook for 1 to 2 minutes on each side until they are caramelized. Remove the slices from the skillet and set them aside. When the duck has rested, carve it into serving pieces. Start by removing the legs and thighs, then slice the breast meat. Arrange the pieces on a warm serving platter and drizzle some of the orange sauce over the top. Garnish the platter with the caramelized orange slices and a few sprigs of fresh thyme or parsley for a vibrant presentation. Serve the remaining sauce on the side. For side dishes, consider pairing duck à l'orange with creamy mashed potatoes, roasted root vegetables, or a light green salad with a citrus vinaigrette. The richness of the duck and sauce complements these accompaniments beautifully. This dish allows for some variation. For a sweeter sauce, increase the sugar slightly or add a tablespoon of honey. For a deeper citrus flavor, include the juice and zest of a lemon along with the orange juice. If you prefer a spicier kick, add a pinch of cayenne pepper to the sauce. Duck à l'orange is best enjoyed fresh, but leftovers can be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. Reheat gently in a skillet or oven to maintain the crispy skin and tender texture. The sauce can also be reheated over low heat, stirring occasionally. This recipe requires patience and attention to detail, but the result is a show-stopping dish with layers of flavor and elegance. Duck à l'orange is a testament to the beauty of French cooking, and a meal that will leave a lasting impression. Our 7th recipe is a French classic that requires precision and care. Coq au vin. This rustic dish, which translates to chicken and wine, features chicken braised in a rich red wine sauce with mushrooms, onions, and smoky bacon. It's a hearty, flavorful meal that's perfect for a special dinner. Let's begin. Start by preparing the ingredients. Use a whole chicken, about 4 to 5 pounds, or 8 bone-in chicken pieces, such as thighs and drumsticks. Pat the chicken dry with paper towels and season all sides with 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. Set the chicken aside while you prepare the other components. Cut 6 ounces of bacon into small pieces and place them in a large Dutch oven or heavy pot over medium heat. Cook the bacon, stirring occasionally until it is crisp and golden brown. Remove the bacon with a slotted spoon and set it aside on a plate, leaving the rendered fat in the pot. Increase the heat to medium-high and add the chicken pieces to the pot, skin side down. Sear the chicken in batches for 3 to 4 minutes per side until it is golden brown. Avoid overcrowding the pot, as this can cause the chicken to steam instead of sear. Transfer the seared chicken to a plate and set it aside. In the same pot, add 1 finely chopped onion, 2 minced garlic cloves, and 1 cup of peeled pearl onions. Sauté the onions for 5 to 7 minutes, stirring occasionally until they are softened and lightly browned. Add 8 ounces of sliced mushrooms and cook for an additional 3 to 5 minutes until the mushrooms are tender and golden. Stir in 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, coating the vegetables evenly. Cook the flour for 1 to 2 minutes to remove the raw taste. Gradually pour in 2 cups of dry red wine, such as Pinot Noir or Burgundy, scraping up any browned bits from the bottom of the pot. Add 1 cup of chicken stock, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, and a bouquet garni made of thyme, bay leaf, and parsley tied together with kitchen twine. Stir to combine. Return the seared chicken and bacon to the pot, nestling them into the liquid. Bring the mixture to a simmer, then reduce the heat to low. Cover the pot and cook for 30 minutes, stirring occasionally. After 30 minutes, uncover the pot and continue to simmer for another 15 to 20 minutes to allow the sauce to thicken slightly. The chicken should be tender and cooked through, with an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit, 74 degrees Celsius. While the chicken is cooking, prepare a simple garnish. Chop 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley and zest 1 lemon. Combine them in a small bowl and set aside. This garnish will add a bright, fresh flavor to the finished dish. Once the chicken is done, taste the sauce and adjust the seasoning with additional salt and pepper if needed. Remove the bouquet garni and discard it. Serve the coq au vin in shallow bowls, spooning the rich sauce over the chicken. Sprinkle the lemon-parsley mixture on top for a burst of freshness. For a traditional accompaniment, serve coq au vin with crusty French bread or buttered noodles. Mashed potatoes or creamy polenta also pair beautifully with the rich, savory sauce. A simple green salad dressed with vinaigrette can complete the meal. This dish allows for variations depending on your preferences. For a lighter version, use white wine instead of red. If you don't have pearl onions, use small shallots or quartered large onions. For a smoky twist, try pancetta or smoked ham instead of bacon. Coq au vin is even better the next day as the flavors deepen with time. Store leftovers in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. Reheat gently on the stovetop over low heat, adding a splash of water or stock to loosen the sauce if necessary. This recipe is a true celebration of rustic French cooking, combining simple ingredients with slow cooking techniques to create a dish full of rich, complex flavors. Coq au vin is a classic that brings warmth and comfort to any table. Our 8th recipe is a complex and flavorful dish that is a hallmark of Middle Eastern cuisine. Lamb biryani. This aromatic, layered rice dish is a feast for the senses, combining tender spiced lamb, fragrant basmati rice, and a blend of exotic spices. It's a celebratory meal that requires time and care, but is truly worth the effort. Let's begin. Start by preparing the lamb. Use 2 pounds of lamb, shoulder or leg, cut into bite-sized pieces. In a large bowl, combine 1 cup of plain yogurt, 2 teaspoons of ground turmeric, 2 teaspoons of ground coriander, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and the juice of 1 lemon. Mix well, then add the lamb pieces to the bowl, ensuring they are fully coated with the marinade. Cover the bowl and let the lamb marinate in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours, or overnight for deeper flavor. While the lamb marinates, prepare the rice. Rinse 3 cups of basmati rice under cold water until the water runs clear. This removes excess starch and prevents the rice from becoming sticky. Soak the rice in water for 30 minutes, then drain it. In a large pot, bring 8 cups of water to a boil. Add 2 bay leaves, 3 green cardamom pods, and 1 cinnamon stick to the boiling water for additional aroma. Stir in the soaked rice and cook for 5 to 7 minutes, or until the rice is about 70% cooked. Drain the rice and set it aside. Next, prepare the spice-infused onion base. In a large, heavy-bottomed pot, heat 3 tablespoons of ghee or vegetable oil over medium heat. Add 2 thinly sliced onions and cook for 10 to 12 minutes, stirring often until they are golden brown and caramelized. Remove half of the onions and set them aside for garnish. To the remaining onions in the pot, add 2 minced garlic cloves, 1 tablespoon of grated ginger, and 2 diced tomatoes. Cook for 5 to 7 minutes until the tomatoes soften and the mixture becomes a thick paste. Add the marinated lamb to the pot along with the marinade. Cook over medium-high heat for 5 minutes, stirring frequently to sear the lamb and develop flavor. Reduce the heat to low. Cover the pot and let the lamb cook gently for 30 to 40 minutes, or until tender. Stir occasionally to prevent sticking, and add a splash of water if the mixture becomes too dry. Once the lamb is tender, layer the biryani. Spread half of the partially cooked rice over the lamb mixture in the pot. Sprinkle half a teaspoon of saffron threads soaked in 2 tablespoons of warm milk over the rice. Add a handful of chopped fresh cilantro and mint leaves. Repeat with the remaining rice, saffron milk, and herbs, creating a second layer. Cover the pot tightly with a lid or foil to trap the steam. Place the pot over very low heat and cook for 25 to 30 minutes. This process, known as dum, allows the flavors to meld and the rice to finish cooking in its own steam. Do not uncover the pot during this time to ensure maximum aroma and flavor. When the biryani is done, gently fluff the rice with a fork, mixing it with the lamb and spices. Take care not to break the rice grains. Garnish the biryani with the reserved caramelized onions, more fresh cilantro and mint, and a handful of roasted cashews or almonds for added texture. Serve the lamb biryani hot with a side of cooling raita, which is a yogurt-based sauce made with grated cucumber, mint, and a pinch of salt. For a complete meal, you can also include a simple salad of sliced onions, tomatoes, and cucumbers, dressed with lemon juice. This biryani can be customized to suit your taste. For a spicier version, add extra chili powder or a few fresh green chilies to the lamb marinade. For a vegetarian option, replace the lamb with paneer, tofu, or mixed vegetables. The recipe can also be scaled up or down depending on the number of servings needed. Leftovers can be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 3 days. Reheat the biryani gently in a skillet or microwave, adding a splash of water or broth to keep it moist. Lamb biryani is a dish that showcases the art of layering flavors and textures, creating a meal that is as visually stunning as it is delicious. It's a culinary journey that will transport you with its rich spices and fragrant aroma. Our ninth recipe is a classic Mediterranean dish with layers of flavor. Moussaka. This rich, baked casserole combines eggplant, ground meat, and a creamy topping for a hearty and satisfying meal. To make moussaka, start by preparing the eggplants. Take 2 large eggplants, wash them, and cut them into half-inch thick slices. Sprinkle both sides of the slices with a little salt and place them in a colander. Let them sit for about 20 minutes to draw out excess water and any bitterness. After that, rinse them under cold water and pat them dry with paper towels. While the eggplants are sitting, prepare the meat sauce. Heat 2 tablespoons of olive oil in a large pan over medium heat. Add 1 finely chopped onion and 2 minced garlic cloves. Cook for 5 to 7 minutes, stirring now and then until the onion softens and turns golden. Add 1 pound of ground beef or lamb to the pan. Use a spoon to break the meat into small pieces as it cooks. Cook until the meat is browned, about 5 to 7 minutes. Once the meat is browned, stir in 1 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of black pepper, and a teaspoon of ground cinnamon for warmth. Add 1 can, 14 ounces, of diced tomatoes, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, and half a cup of water. Mix everything well and let it simmer on low heat for 20 minutes, stirring occasionally until the sauce thickens. Once ready, set it aside. Next, cook the eggplants. Heat a large skillet with a tablespoon of olive oil over medium-high heat. Fry the eggplant slices in batches for 2 to 3 minutes on each side until they turn golden and soft. If you prefer, you can brush the eggplants with oil and bake them in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 200 degrees Celsius, for 20 minutes, flipping them halfway. Once cooked, set the eggplants aside on a plate lined with paper towels to absorb extra oil. Now, prepare the bechamel sauce for the topping. In a medium saucepan, melt 4 tablespoons of butter over medium heat. Add 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and stir constantly for 2 minutes to make a smooth paste. Slowly pour in 2 cups of warm milk while stirring to keep the sauce smooth. Continue cooking and stirring for 5 to 7 minutes or until the sauce thickens. Remove it from the heat and stir in a pinch of nutmeg, half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup of grated Parmesan cheese. Let the sauce cool slightly, then mix in 2 lightly beaten eggs. Stir well until the eggs are fully blended. To assemble the moussaka, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 degrees Celsius. Lightly grease a 9x 13-inch baking dish. Start by layering half of the eggplant slices on the bottom of the dish. Spread half of the meat sauce evenly over the eggplants. Add the rest of the eggplant slices on top, followed by the remaining meat sauce. Pour the bechamel sauce over the top, spreading it out evenly with a spatula. Bake the moussaka in the preheated oven for 45 to 50 minutes, or until the top is golden brown and bubbling. Let it cool for 15 minutes before slicing. This resting time helps the layers set, making it easier to serve. To serve, cut the moussaka into squares and garnish with a sprinkle of fresh parsley or a little grated Parmesan cheese. Moussaka pairs well with a crisp green salad or a side of crusty bread. For variations, you can add sliced potatoes or zucchini as additional layers. For a vegetarian option, Replace the meat sauce with a mixture of lentils or mushrooms cooked with the same spices and tomato sauce. Leftovers can be stored in the refrigerator for up to 3 days, or frozen for up to 3 months. Reheat in the oven or microwave until warmed through. This moussaka recipe is a labor of love, but its layers of flavor and satisfying texture make it a dish worth the effort. It's a true comfort food that brings the taste of the Mediterranean to your table. Our 10th recipe is a French pastry classic that is as delicious as it is intricate. Croissants. These buttery, flaky pastries require time and patience, but the results are truly worth the effort. To make croissants, start by preparing the dough. In a large bowl, combine 1 cup of warm milk, about 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 45 degrees Celsius, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. Let the mixture sit for 5 to 10 minutes until it becomes foamy. This step activates the yeast. In a separate bowl, mix 3 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon of salt. Add the yeast mixture and 4 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter to the flour. Stir with a spoon until the dough begins to come together. Transfer the dough to a lightly floured surface and knead for about 5 minutes until it becomes smooth and elastic. Shape the dough into a ball. Place it in a lightly greased bowl. Cover it with plastic wrap and let it rise at room temperature for 1 to 2 hours or until it doubles in size. While the dough rises, prepare the butter block. Take 1 1/2 cups, 3 sticks of cold unsalted butter, and place them between 2 sheets of parchment paper. Use a rolling pin to flatten the butter into a square about 6 inches by 6 inches. Chill the butter block in the refrigerator until firm but pliable. Once the dough has risen, punch it down to release air and roll it out on a lightly floured surface into a rectangle about 10 inches by 14 inches. Place the butter block in the center of the dough. Fold the dough over the butter, bringing the edges together like an envelope, and seal the seams by pinching them tightly. Turn the dough so the seams are on the bottom. Roll out the dough into a long rectangle, about 8 inches by 18 inches. Fold the bottom third of the dough up and the top third down, like folding a letter. This is called a single turn. Wrap the dough in plastic wrap and refrigerate it for at least 30 minutes. Repeat this process 2 more times, chilling the dough between each turn. These folds create the flaky layers of the croissants. After completing the turns, refrigerate the dough for at least an hour or overnight for best results. When ready to shape the croissants, roll the dough out into a large rectangle about 8 inches by 24 inches. Cut the dough into triangles with a base of about 4 inches. To shape the croissants, take each triangle and gently stretch the base slightly. Starting from the base, roll the dough tightly toward the tip. Place the croissants on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, making sure the tip is tucked underneath to prevent them from unrolling during baking. Curve the ends slightly to create the classic crescent shape. Cover the croissants loosely with plastic wrap or a clean kitchen towel and let them rise at room temperature for 1 to 2 hours, or until they are puffy and have almost doubled in size. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 degrees Celsius. Before baking, brush the croissants with an egg wash made by whisking 1 egg with a tablespoon of milk. This gives them a golden, glossy finish. Bake the croissants for 20 to 25 minutes, or until they are golden brown and crisp. Remove them from the oven and let them cool on a wire rack. To serve, enjoy the croissants warm or at room temperature. They pair beautifully with butter, jam or a drizzle of honey. For a more indulgent treat, you can fill them with chocolate or almond paste before rolling them up. For variations, you can add grated cheese to the dough for savory croissants or sprinkle sugar and cinnamon over the triangles before shaping for a sweet twist. Croissants are best eaten fresh, but can be stored in an airtight container for up to 2 days. To reheat, place them in a warm oven for a few minutes to restore their crispness. Making croissants from scratch is a rewarding process that transforms simple ingredients into an extraordinary pastry. With their buttery layers and delicate texture, croissants are a timeless delight. Our 11th recipe is a hearty and flavorful dish perfect for cozy dinners: beef stew with root vegetables. This classic comfort food combines tender chunks of beef, aromatic vegetables, and a rich, savory broth. It's an ideal meal for a chilly evening. Let's begin. Start by preparing the beef. Use 2 pounds of boneless beef chuck, cut into 1.5-inch cubes. Pat the beef dry with paper towels and season generously with 1 teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of black pepper. Heat 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil in a large Dutch oven or heavy pot over medium-high heat. Working in batches, add the beef cubes to the pot, searing them for 4 to 5 minutes on all sides until they develop a rich brown crust. Remove the beef from the pot and set it aside. In the same pot, add 1 large diced onion, 2 minced garlic cloves, and 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. Cook for 3 to 4 minutes, stirring occasionally until the onion softens and the tomato paste darkens. Add 1 cup of red wine to deglaze the pot, scraping up any browned bits from the bottom. Let the wine simmer for 2 to 3 minutes to reduce slightly. Next, add the vegetables. Stir in 4 large peeled and diced carrots, 3 peeled and diced parsnips, and 3 medium potatoes, peeled and diced. Add 1 tablespoon of dried thyme, 1 bay leaf, and 2 cups of beef broth. Stir to combine. Return the seared beef to the pot, nestling it into the liquid. Bring the mixture to a simmer, then reduce the heat to low. Cover the pot and let the stew cook for 2.5 to 3 hours, stirring occasionally until the beef is tender and the vegetables are fully cooked. While the stew is cooking, prepare the garnish. Chop a handful of fresh parsley and set it aside. This will add a pop of color and freshness to the finished dish. After the stew has cooked, remove the bay leaf and taste the broth. Adjust the seasoning with additional salt and pepper as needed. If you prefer a thicker broth, use a ladle to remove a cup of liquid and whisk in 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Return the mixture to the pot and stir until the broth thickens. To serve, ladle the beef stew into bowls, making sure to include a generous amount of vegetables and broth. Garnish with the chopped fresh parsley. For a complete meal, serve with a side of warm, crusty bread to soak up the rich broth. This stew offers some variations depending on your taste. For a more robust flavor, add 1 cup of chopped mushrooms along with the other vegetables. For a touch of sweetness, include a few diced apples or a tablespoon of brown sugar. If you prefer a slightly spicy kick, add a pinch of red pepper flakes when cooking the vegetables. Leftovers can be stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator for up to 4 days. Reheat the stew gently on the stovetop, adding a splash of broth if needed to loosen the consistency. Beef stew with root vegetables is a comforting, one-pot meal that fills the kitchen with delicious aromas and brings warmth to the table. It's a dish that's perfect for any occasion, whether it's a family dinner or a cozy night in. The tender beef and vegetables, combined with the savory broth, make this stew a true classic. Our final recipe is a rare and complex dish that requires both patience and skill: soufflé au fromage, or cheese soufflé. This light and airy French classic is a true test of culinary expertise. With its delicate texture and rich, savory flavor, it's a dish that will impress anyone who tastes it. Let's begin. Start by preparing the soufflé dish. Choose a round, straight-sided soufflé dish about 8 inches in diameter. Butter the inside of the dish generously, making sure to coat all the way up the sides. Then, sprinkle a thin layer of grated Parmesan cheese on top of the butter. This creates a crust that will help the soufflé rise evenly. Set the dish aside while you prepare the base. For the soufflé base, you will need a bechamel sauce. Start by melting 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter in a medium saucepan over medium heat. Once the butter has melted, add 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and stir to form a smooth paste, known as a roux. Cook this mixture for 1 to 2 minutes, stirring constantly to avoid burning, until the flour has absorbed the butter and begins to turn a light golden color. Next, gradually whisk in 2 cups of whole milk, making sure to incorporate the milk slowly to prevent lumps from forming. Continue to whisk the sauce vigorously until it thickens, about 5 minutes. Once the bechamel has thickened to the consistency of heavy cream, remove the saucepan from the heat. Season with a pinch of salt, half a teaspoon of ground white pepper, and a small pinch of grated nutmeg. Set the bechamel aside to cool slightly. While the bechamel cools, separate 4 large eggs into 2 bowls, keeping the yolks in one and the whites in the other. Add the yolks to the cooled bechamel sauce, one at a time, stirring well after each addition. Once all the yolks are incorporated, add 1½ cups of grated Gruyere cheese to the mixture. Gruyere is the classic choice for a cheese soufflé because of its nutty flavor and meltability. Stir the cheese in until it has melted completely into the sauce. You should have a smooth, creamy base by now. Now, prepare the egg whites. Using an electric mixer, beat the egg whites on medium-high speed until stiff peaks form. Be careful not to overbeat the whites, as they can become dry and lose their ability to hold their structure. Once the egg whites have reached stiff peaks, carefully fold them into the cheese mixture. Start by adding a small amount of the whites to the base and gently folding to lighten the mixture. Then, slowly incorporate the rest of the whites, folding them in with a spatula. Be gentle to preserve the air in the egg whites, which will help the soufflé rise. Once everything is combined, pour the soufflé mixture into the prepared dish, filling it to about 1 inch below the rim. Smooth the top with a spatula, making sure the surface is even. To give the soufflé the best chance of rising evenly, run your thumb around the edge of the dish to create a small indent in the mixture. This helps the soufflé rise in a controlled way, preventing it from collapsing on one side. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 degrees Celsius. Place the soufflé dish on a baking sheet for easier handling and to catch any drips. Bake the soufflé in the preheated oven for 25 to 30 minutes, or until it has risen beautifully and turned golden brown on top. Do not open the oven door during the first 20 minutes of baking, as this can cause the soufflé to collapse. You will know it's done when the soufflé has puffed up dramatically and is golden and slightly crisp on the outside. The center should still have a slight jiggle, but it should not be liquid. While the soufflé is baking, prepare a simple garnish. Finely chop a handful of fresh chives or parsley to sprinkle over the soufflé once it's out of the oven. This will add a touch of color and a fresh, herbal note to balance the richness of the cheese. Once the soufflé is ready, remove it from the oven and serve immediately. Soufflés are best eaten straight from the oven, as they will start to deflate after a few minutes. Serve the soufflé au fromage on its own, or alongside a light green salad with a tangy vinaigrette to cut through the richness of the cheese. A glass of dry white wine, such as a Sauvignon Blanc or Chardonnay, pairs beautifully with the soufflé. This dish is an excellent choice for special occasions or dinner parties, but it does require precision and careful attention to detail. The soufflé's success depends on the perfect balance of a well-made bechamel, perfectly beaten egg whites, and a gentle folding technique to ensure the soufflé rises properly. It's a delicate dish that rewards the effort with a rich, savory experience that is both light and indulgent. For variations, you can experiment with different cheeses. While Gruyere is the classic choice, other cheeses like Comte, Emmental, or even sharp cheddar can create different flavor profiles. You can also add a touch of Dijon mustard to the bechamel for a hint of spice, or incorporate finely chopped herbs like thyme or tarragon to complement the cheese. Leftovers can be stored in the refrigerator for up to 2 days, though the soufflé will lose its airy texture once cooled. To reheat, place the soufflé in a 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 degrees Celsius, oven for about 10 minutes to warm through, but note that it may not rise as beautifully as it did when freshly baked. Soufflé au fromage is a true culinary challenge, but it is also a spectacular dish that showcases the skills of a great cook. When made perfectly, it is a dish that is light as air, with a creamy interior and a crisp, golden exterior. An elegant and unforgettable treat.